In today's episode, I want to go after why I personally have a business coach. I've narrowed it down in my journal this morning. There's four main reasons that I've had a business coach ever since my life was impacted for the better. I'll share the story with you in here a few minutes. When I got my first business coach in 2016, a gentleman in the Pacific Northwest out of Bend, Oregon, shout out to Rick DeLuca. He became my first business coach, meaning it was an outside person that began a relationship with me to look at the details of my business to help me go further faster and to gain a different perspective and really to take my business to the next level because I was stuck. So if you're considering being a business coach, if maybe you're familiar with business coaching or coaching, you hear so many friends and family members having a coach, and yet you're like, what's the benefit? What's the big deal with coaching? I would encourage you to tune in today's episode. You're at the right place, especially if you're wondering what it looks like to actually coach someone. I trust that today's episode is going to be helpful. So the story I want to share with you is I've been an entrepreneur really my entire life, and yet I launched into the real estate industry in 2007 with my real estate business. At this time, I would have been in my early 20s, about 22, approaching 23 years of age, and we had one child at the time, which blows my mind. Our oldest daughter, Shaylee, just turned 20 just a few days ago. And she was just a little baby and just born when I caught the vision of the possibilities by getting my real estate license. So I've been in the real estate industry approaching 2 decades now, 18 years to be exact. And from 2007, I launched my business and had quite a bit of success. Really within the first 12 months, I became the rookie of the year in my office. I was very proud of that. Matter of fact, I still have the plaques and all the awards and all of that from the real estate office that I was a part of at the time. It's buried in the garage somewhere. And I became the rookie of the year, and I had so much zeal and enthusiasm for my business. And yet, think about where you were in the year 2007, 2008. And if you were in business, you probably know what was happening in the world, right? It's when the Great Recession, the housing market bubble imploded, exploded, however you wanted to put it. And little did I know that there was some challenging times ahead in the business world, especially in real estate from 2007 to 2012. And even though it became some of the highest income earning years of my life at that point, it was uphill both ways, meaning it was extremely challenging. So I brought my employee mindset to my business. What do I mean by that? I mean that think about it as an employee. How do we earn income in that role? Well, we trade time for money. I remember I wanted to increase my pay. And so guess what I started to do? I started to work more hours. I would work doubles. I would crank out more hours. And even though it was heavily taxed, it was the lever that I could pull in my world if I desired to get a paycheck for more money. Well, as an entrepreneur, guess what? Congratulations. Yep, you have your time back. You're unemployed. And my point is that things begin to change for me in 2007 when I launched my real estate business. And from 2007 all the way up until 2015, the end of 2015, I really had the same year over and over. And even though I was earning more than I ever had at that point in my life, I found myself with that employee mindset where I thought in order to earn more money in my real estate business, well, I just needed to work more hours. And sometimes that may be true, right? Sometimes I may need to put more effort and intentionality into my business. And yet I found myself hitting myself up against what some refer to as the glass ceiling. You know what I'm talking about? You know, you've been there before, or maybe you're there now. If you keep getting the same results over and over, and it's like you're hitting your head against a glass ceiling, you keep doing the same thing. It's like Groundhog Day on repeat. Well, that's exactly where I was at until I met my first business coach, Rick DeLuca. And there's a few things that Rick DeLuca helped me do. By the way, I got inspired for today's episode because I got off a call with one of the paid coaches that I have in my life. I said one of them because, yes, there's more than one, because there's a few key areas that I'm looking to accelerate and improve and get better results this year. And so I do have more than one hired coach right now in my life. And yet I was inspired this morning because on today's call, I always have my big journal out in front of me and my pen to take notes. And right out of the gate, my coach said with me, he said, today in our conversation, it could save you hundreds of thousands, and over a period of years, it could save you potentially millions of dollars. And he had my attention at that point. And there's a group, probably about 40 or 50 of us on this Zoom call this morning when he shared this. And so he got my attention right out of the gate. I grabbed my pen and paper and started to take notes. And I just loved the lessons that my coach, Omar El Takori, was sharing with me about how he just made a technical mistake in a Zoom room last week in his business that, without exaggeration, cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars. One of the benefits of having a coach is they could save you money. More importantly than saving money, because we could always make more money, right? Is they help me save time. And so that's the inspiration for today's episode. And I was so impacted by my first business coach, Rick DeLuca. He recommended this book, First Things First. It's a classic. The pages are kind of yellowish, and it's a classic by Stephen Covey. And one of the takeaways I got from that book, I'll share with you right now. He shared with me he tells this story in this book about this college professor that has these glass jars on his table. And he begins to ask his students questions about the jars being full. The moral of the story is that it's up to me to identify the highest priority items in my business, or in my life for that matter, and do those things first. Put them on the calendar so they actually exist, because if they're not on my calendar, they do not exist, even with the best of intentions. You ever had something that you intend to do, and yet the day passed, maybe even the week or month passed, and you look back and you're like, I completely forgot to do that. Well, it happens to the best of us. Of course, you've had that happen before. So with First Things First, he tells a story about the priorities. And Rick recommended that book, my business coach, Rick, and I read it, and he started to have these conversations with me very gently. But when I think about a coach, let's define what coaching is, because there's terms in the coaching world that are used a little bit loosely, meaning that kind of like interchangeably, or sometimes somebody might say coaching, but they mean mentorship or counseling. So there's just a variety of definitions, I think. And so I wrote down in my journal as I was preparing for today, I define coaching as this: a series of intentional conversations that empower, I love that word, empower the person to gain clarity and to pursue their purpose and their calling. Calling meaning the mission that they're on. So a series of intentional conversations that empower a person to gain clarity, to pursue their potential and calling. So when you hear me use the word coaching, that's what I'm talking about. A lot of times in coaching, I learned this from John Maxwell, is that the mindset of a coach is that the answers are already within the person. All we have to do is ask questions to pull it out of the person. So one of the big differences between coaching and mentorship, because both of them are beneficial, I would say that there's a time and place for both of them. Matter of fact, in my coaching, a lot of times, depending on what the context of that relationship looks like, meaning what they're looking to build and improve in their life, a lot of times with coaching, especially if it's in real estate or learning how to flip and invest in real estate, it looks more like mentorship, where I'm able to pull my experiences, my fell forward moments, and the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. I'm able to pull from those experiences and to pour into someone else and share, so they don't have to learn things the hard way. So think of coaching more of pulling out from something, of pulling out of the person being coached. A good coach is going to pull things out of them, We're more in the mentoring side of things. It's more of the mentor is pouring in. Coaching is more asking. Mentoring, from my experience, is more telling the person. It's putting things into the person to help them. So now that we got running definitions of, you know what I mean when I say coaching and mentoring, I want to dive in to what I wrote out in my journal, a few things, a few of the reasons. I wrote out four to be exact, four reasons that I've had paid coaches ever since 2000, January of 2016 to be exact. So that would be 9 years now. I've had paid coaches. I want to tell you some areas I've had paid coaches because I framed this with business coaching. And yet maybe you're in a spot where you don't need a business coach. Maybe you need a health and fitness and well-being coach. I remember I wanted to change make some changes physically to my body so I could be more healthy, to have the energy I need and my family deserves to really keep up with my kids and to serve them well, to have the energy to do all the things that a family wants to do, right? I remember it was 2021 actually, and I was in Colorado Springs, my family and I, one of our favorite places to go. Matter of fact, we were just there last month for a week and had a phenomenal time. And yet in 2021, we found ourselves in Colorado once again, and I was hiking up Pikes Peak. And I had to pull over. I told my family, hey, let's take in the scenery, because there's a few spots on Bard Trail there at Pikes Peak where you could, in Manitou Springs, where you could kind of pull to the side of the trail and let people pass you and just take in the view. So I told my family, hey, let's slow down and take in this view for a few minutes. Well, the truth is, I wasn't so interested in taking in the view. I was trying to catch my breath. In that moment, I realized the trajectory I was on needed to change. I would call it a defining moment. It's one of those rare moments in my life where it's like from that day forward, something changed. I had a deeper level of awareness, knowing that the trajectory I was on with my health and fitness needed to change. Otherwise, if I played that out, if I imagined life another 30 or 40 years from now, it wasn't looking good, right? With my health and fitness. And in that moment, I decided I wanted to start making some changes. The reason I bring that up is because I hired a nutrition person, his name's Zane Griggs. He has a phenomenal podcast called Fit AF After 50. So if you're in the age group of 40 or 50 or older, check out my friend Zane Griggs. I reached out to him and he created me a meal plan. And the meal plan was just a one-page simple plan when it came to my nutrition. And if I shared it with you right now or pulled up on the screen, it would look like exactly what a meal plan, what we would envision it look like, meaning it showed me doing some intermittent fasting and eating a lunch and dinner and really minimal snacking, preferably no snacking in between, of all the healthy things that we know to eat. And so it wasn't, the interesting thing with the meal plan is that sometimes it's there's a process in order to become, what am I saying? There's a process looking back that I had to go through. And even though Zane I hired, he gave me the meal plan, it took me all the way until 2022, 2023 in order to implement that meal plan and follow it diligently. So just because we have a coach or a mentor and now we have an understanding of what to do, that doesn't mean we're at a spot on the inside where we're willing to do what it takes to become that type of person we desire. And that's what I love about coaching and mentorship. It's that process of becoming and seeing one person have an idea or have a concept and see them start to grow and to walk out the vision, the plan and purpose, the direction they believe God is calling them or asking them to step into. It is one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. And I was thinking about it. At this point, I've helped over 600 people launch in particular, their real estate business. Sure, I've worked with people in insurance, people in, just people that have a dairy farm. The list goes on with people that have that entrepreneurial spirit, that are tired of being an employee. Usually they're looking to buy back their time or gain their time back. They're ready to break the cycle of stop working for a paycheck, meaning trading dollars for hours. And I want to let you know there's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame. So if you find yourself in an employee right now, I trust that I'm not coming off as a better than or more superior than. And I don't look down at people in an employee role by any means, because that's where I spent a number of years before I launched my real estate business. I completely get it. But I think for some of us out there, probably not the vast majority, most people are probably better off, honestly, being an employee. And yet, if you have that entrepreneurial spirit where you know you're created for more and you desire to have more of your time back and to have an unlimited earning potential, to solve problems for others and to bring value to the marketplace, send me a PM or in the comments, put "that's me," and I'll know that I'm talking to my people. So let's dive into some of the benefits. The first benefit is to have an outside perspective. I've heard it put this way, that it's hard to see the picture if you're inside the frame. It's hard to see the big picture if you're inside the frame. So one of the benefits that I've experienced as a result of having a coach is they help me see things from a slightly different perspective. Now, when I say slightly, sometimes it's a drastically different perspective. I'll share another story. My wife, prior to staying home, taking care of her mom towards the end of what we now know was the end of her mom's life, my wife had a desire to be a stay-at-home mom and take care of our kids and homeschool the kids. By the way, if you homeschool your kids, shout out to you. That's phenomenal. My hat goes off to you. Not that I wear hats, but if I did, I would take it off in honor of you. So my wife had a desire to stay home, take care of the family, and really to be a housewife and to serve our kids well, to teach them. And my wife's mom had 2 drug overdoses back to back. And even though she was in her, I think it was early 50s, maybe mid 50s at this point, probably early 50s, my wife, her and the mom and dad were going through a divorce. And through a series of events, my wife decided to really sacrificially step up and to take care of her mom. And it was challenging for us. And honestly, I was not happy about it at all, because my mindset then was, hey, she had 2 drug induced strokes back to back. And so in my mind, I didn't really have too much compassion. I was thinking, well, it's her fault. She had opportunity, she blew it, and now she's in the situation where she needed somebody to shower after, give her a bath, shower after her, help feed her. Like, she had some real practical care that needed to happen. And my wife wanted to step up and do that. And at first, honestly, I was bent out of shape about it. And from my perspective, I was thinking, this is our home. I came home from working all day and my mother-in-law sitting there, and it was like we had another child, and I was not happy about it. And a mentor friend of mine, David Higginbotham, he's been on the show numerous times. So make sure to check out a previous episode with my friend David Higginbotham. And I had a conversation with him, and here's where the perspective shift happened. He said, Chris, what if helping your mother-in-law was important to you because it's important to your wife? And if something is important to your wife, it is important to you. Now that's been, not a decade ago, but it's been so many years ago. And I'll never forget him saying that. So one of the benefits of having a coach is they help you see things from a different perspective. And even though it's one of those things that sounds so simple, sometimes it could alter the course of our life. So number one, a good coach is going to offer a different perspective. One of the perspectives that Rick DeLuca, my first business coach, offered me. He said, Chris, tell me the place that you keep all of your past clients' information. Where do you keep birthdays and home anniversaries, their phone numbers? And I was listening to him, and I told him, I said, we were on a phone call this time because our coaching looked like once a week for 12 weeks, we would jump on a phone call. This was pre-Zoom, pre-FaceTime, and pre-iPhones and all of that. So it was just a phone call then. And I told him, I was like, Rick, there is no such place. I do not keep track of my people's information like that. And he was not surprised. Looking back, by the way, most entrepreneurs they're not systematic in keeping track of data. Usually they're good with people and the behind the scenes paperwork side of things. They either have to make themselves do or have success through others, have some leverage in order to get that done. For example, I have a motivational Monday newsletter that I send out like clockwork every Monday. Well, it's not me that sends that out. It's not me behind the computer making that happen. I work with my daughter, Shaylee, because she works in my business, helping me with some administrative things. And so usually over the weekend, she'll ask me about the newsletter and we'll talk through some details of it. But she's the one that puts it all together and sends it out. So with Rick said to me, Chris, no problem. And yet I want you to go ahead and I want you to pull out a piece of paper or open up a Word document. And I want you to start looking at everybody that you helped buy, sell, and invest in real estate over these past 9 years. And this was 2015. He was telling me this. And I said, okay. And he goes, I want you to start writing down all of that information and go collect that data. And so one of the reasons that this is important to me is because he helped me move from being entrepreneurial, meaning like winging it, to being systematic in my approach, a more purposeful way to run a database. And he began to explain to me that in any business, fundamentally, your database is your business. Your database is your business. And so I'm a big proponent. My main focus in my business, and for those that have worked with me as a coach, and you know that I preach this, I'm most passionate about this, is that your database is your business. Meaning, when you launch a business, you're going to be in one of two places. Number one, you either know enough people to acquire the amount of leads that you desire in order to do the amount of business you desire, to make the amount of revenue that you want to make. Or the second place is maybe you're in, you don't have enough relationships. You don't know enough people in order to hit your goals for the year. So one of the things that I work with people on is like, hey, if you're interested in building a referral-based business to get off the hamster wheel of always tracking down the next lead, like let's work together. My doctor, I probably can't, it's too far. My phone would be too far from the screen. And yet my doctor, Dr. Kratt, he sent me a message. He said, hey, Chris, can you give my parents a call? They want to start the process of getting ready to sell. However, for some reason, they never remember to call you. So they asked me if you could just call them. And of course, he shared their phone number with them. And this was an appointment I went on about 3 days ago. What's my point in sharing that? If you're in business, what would it look like? Imagine life if you had more people texting you saying, hey, I desire your product or service. Let's talk about it. Can you help me? And so I'm passionate about working with people that are in business or launching a business that desire to have a referral-based business. Why is that so important to me? Is because Rick worked with me to build a referral-based business. And I was able to save so much time and money because I got off the hamster wheel of chasing down all of these random strangers that I didn't know, which there's nothing wrong with engaging random strangers because that's where we all start with people relationally. But think about this. Think about the time and effort required in order to build trust, to establish the relationship. It takes time. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But please, let's not do that at the expense of all of our family members and friends and people that have already hired us for our product or service, depending on what business you're in. Let's start by having a plan to take care of all those folks. So Rick helped me have a plan. He helped me gain clarity, get off the hamster wheel of trying to chase down the next client and to pay attention and stay in communication with all the people that already like, know, and trust me. So number one, a good coach is going to challenge your perspective and offer you probably a different perspective. Number two, a good coach, I would say a great coach, is going to give you new ideas. One of the reasons that I stay engaged with coaching is to stay sharp, meaning that I like to learn from others. And what a benefit is, number one, if you're going to be a coach, rule number one, this is Chris's rule number one for what it's worth. If you're going to be a coach, please have a coach yourself. In my mind, nothing, well, I was going to exaggerate and say nothing's worse than a coach that doesn't have a coach. Sure, there's plenty of things worse than that. And yet my point is, to me, it seems inauthentic to be about coaching and not have a coach yourself. So number two is going to be a great coach is going to help you stay sharp and have new ideas. I'll share with you a new idea that I have in my journal from my coach, Omar, here a little bit ago when I was on a call with him. He shared with me that if you have a content strategy in your business, here's a pro tip. He shared with me that when it comes to sharing stories on Instagram or Facebook, that if you're going to do a series of stories, you know how you can click on it and go through it. He shared with me that the latest data he's collected shows that you don't want a polished story. You want some kind of like unprofessional looking stories before you have a polished one. Because if somebody, the trend shows that if it's too polished and put together, people will not be interested probably because of all the artificial intelligence and stuff and people being able to use chat bots and all of that. Point is that I stay sharp by learning from incredible people because they help me have new ideas. So right now my coaches are Omar El Takori. I hired him last year when it comes to creating content and having strategy around content because I found myself being 41 and resisting social media and saying things like, well, it's for the younger generation. I don't understand it. It's not my thing. I'm not into it. Then I decided to get over that because my challenge was my perspective was challenged. And I'm so glad I did. So my point is right now I have a few paid coaches. Number one, it's going to be Omar. Number two, it's a dual coaching partnership. Diana Kokoska, I've had her on my podcast channel for her book called Becoming More. Matter of fact, that's a great book. Her name's Diana Kokoska. She built up over a $500 million coaching business and helped turn around a company that was losing money and helped them earn over $500 million in revenue. She's a phenomenal person. She's like me, a person of faith. And I'm not going to take a guess at her age. And yet she and John Maxwell have a partnership. And so that's another one of my paid coaching relationships, Diana Kokoska and John Maxwell. And, to just get it in a room. Last year in December, I went to Palm Springs, Florida, and spent some time in a room with about 20, 30 people and John Maxwell and Diana Kokoska. And it's so neat kind of sometimes with coaching, you get the behind the scenes scoop, meaning that a good coach is going to they're going to share with you what they're currently learning about and pretty much the latest and greatest in things. And I love that. It's the behind the scenes scoop. And I'll tell you this, it's a much different, I experienced John Maxwell in a much different dynamic in a room of 30 people in Palm Springs, Florida in December at the golf course versus when I was in a room with him and there was 30,000 people for his coaching certification and leadership program all the way back in 2016 in Orlando. That was a completely different experience. So those are some of the coaches that I have, and I emphasize paid because I find that there's a time and place for everything, meaning thank God for the mentors, the coaches that I have that have never asked me for a dime. And yet I find that when people pay, they pay attention. I sold my first coaching package that was a more of a premium priced uh, ticket price, meaning a higher price coaching package where it was learning about how to flip real estate properties, invest in real estate. It was a 10-week course that I created last year. And I found that the gentleman who hired me to work with him for those 10 weeks, man, I mean, he showed up. He had his workbook. He paid attention. He was taking notes, asking questions, and then taking action. Usually, if somebody's investing thousands of dollars, it would be foolish for them not to take action. So, one of the things that I love about having specifically a hired coach is for me, I show up differently. If I'm investing financially, I'm going to hold myself accountable to get a return. And here's the secret with coaching. I've been to so many, I would say, is it hundreds? Probably not hundreds, but close to 100 conferences, seminars, webinars over, the past 2 decades that I'm so thankful for. But there's a Bible verse that I'm reminded of right now. It says this: do not be just a hearer of the word, be a doer. So here's one of my pro tips. If you have a coach, or even if you're just watching a video or a podcast, or even in this podcast, here's the challenge I have for you right here. Here's my pro tip and challenge to you. It's this. It's the one thing question, the focusing question. What's the one thing that in your notes after listening to today that you could put a star by and take action on it? So you're not just a hearer, but you're a doer. It blows my mind that even in a classroom where I paid $15,000 to sit in, there will be a handful. Okay, I'll tell you this. There's a content creation class. There was hundreds of people there, and the question was asked. It was around podcasting. Hundreds of people about podcasting, and the question is asked, how many of you have recorded an episode for your podcast, the first episode? In a room full of hundreds of people, there was only maybe a few dozen people that raised their hand. And I'm thinking, what in the world is going on here? What's the point? It's this: do not be just a hearer, be a doer. If you have a coach, a mentor, take action. Taking action is where the magic happens. At this point in meeting with entrepreneurs, it's like I could just tell. There's just something about them and the way they conduct themselves where not maybe sometimes in the first meeting I can tell their potential in entrepreneurship. But if I meet with them for a few weeks, one of the key indicators that tells me that they're going to survive as an entrepreneur, I say survive because the statistics, like ask Chat GPT the statistics, it's alarming. In the real estate industry, 8 to 9 out of 10 people will not make it past 5 years in their real estate business. So the vast majority of entrepreneurs fail and they go back to what they did before. If somebody said, Chris, what's the one pattern that you picked up on? It's this: they don't take action. They know what to do. They're simply not doing it. So to recap, the first benefit of having a coach is going to be you get an outsider's perspective. Number 2 is that you get exposed to new ideas. Number 3 is really where the magic happens. It's accountability. By the way, the people that I work with, I've heard this time and time again. The number one reason they hire me as their coach is because they're looking to insert accountability in their life. I think that the people that are the hungriest for success, that they desire it the most, they actually look at their life and they say, hey, there's some things that I want to change and I'm committed to do it. They insert people in their life to hold them accountable. Here, let's define accountability. Hold someone able to. Hold them able to do what? what it is they committed to do. So a lot of times in a coaching call with me, it looks like this. Hey, Houston, you said that you were going to do A, B, and C. How did that go? Tell me about that. I get curious about what they said that they were going to take action on. And one of two things are going to happen. Either they took action on it and they got results, or they didn't take action, right? And there's a path for both. So people that are hungry for success, they insert some accountability. And it ties in with what I said about taking action on it. Taking action is where the magic happens as a business owner. And inserting some accountability is the number one reason people hire me as a coach. It's the number one reason I want to coach. It's to have a spot to be known and to know others and have someone stay up in my business a little bit, to have some follow up with me and not let me off the hook so much. Because I've heard that being an entrepreneur or being a leader is lonely. Well, I don't know about that. Maybe it is for some. I would also say that if you feel like you're too lonely, maybe you're doing it wrong. Maybe you're missing a who. By the way, a great book. I did a book study with some friends of mine. It's right over here. I can't reach it though. It's called Who, Not How. Who, Not How. Maybe you're missing a who. Maybe you're missing a coach. Another coach that I had, make sure I'm not chasing a squirrel. One time when it came to changing my health and fitness, I mentioned Zane. I decided that I wanted to do something I've never done before. So maybe the coach that you're missing, it's to help you do something that you're unconscious, incompetent about, meaning you don't even know what you don't know. Well, I decided that when it came to changing my health and fitness, after working on my diet and nutrition, I decided I wanted to start doing all these crazy marathons and triathlons. So I did, I went from essentially being a couch potato. Maybe I should talk about this in another episode sometime. I went from being a couch potato to, in about 2-year period, doing close to 40 some odd races, including Kansas City Marathon multiple times, 70.3 mile Ironman distance, several different triathlons. And then the longest distance one I did was the Chattanooga Ironman, 146.6 miles. Boy, you talk about a long day. Why am I bringing that up? I hired a coach. I hired a coach. This is somebody that had about 30 years of experience in triathlons. And so how do you go from the not knowing what you don't know to doing a full Ironman race? How do you go from not knowing what you don't know and launching your business to excelling in business and having the success you desire? You have someone that has walked the road before, somebody that's been on that journey probably longer than you, that's learned some lessons, that has an established model that they could coach you to get the results that you desire. So I hired a triathlon coach, and he worked with me to create a 6 days a week workout plan where I could log into my Training Peaks app on my Garmin watch that was connected to my phone, get my workouts in. And that was me inserting some accountability. So if I would say this, if you're launching your business, or if there's an area of your life you're looking to get different or better results in, maybe you're missing a who. By the way, if you're building anything by yourself, I guarantee you're making it harder than it needs to be. If you're building it by yourself, there's a high chance you're making it harder than it needs to be. By the way, think about this. I've been studying the first 3 books of Genesis all year long. And the first thing, it's fascinating to think about. You know, the first thing God told us human beings after he created us? He told us it's not good. It's not good for man to be alone. It's not good for man to be alone. So maybe it's true in our business. Actually, I think it is true. From my experience in business, it's if I'm doing it by myself, I'm making it harder than it needs to be. So maybe you're just missing a who. So inserting accountability. And then the last but not least, this is essential. This is where really the magic happens. A great coach, from my experience, helps me stay focused. Helps me stay focused. There's so many distractions out there. There's something called doom scrolling. Well, we could live that way in our life, where if I'm not focused on those priority items in my own life and in my own family, there's a temptation to be distracted by all of the things, all the new ideas, all the new concepts. Um, Everything online is geared to gain our attention. So right now, I would say there's a battle going on in the world for your attention. A great coach is going to help you stay focused on the metrics, the things that actually help you move forward in your life, in your business. Notice I say your life and your business, because from my perspective, the purpose of your business is to fund your life and your God-given purpose, in my opinion. So if I've been there before, if you find yourself that you feel like you're building your business at the expense of your life, you're building your business, but you're not building a life, maybe you're starting to not have time or capacity for the people that matter most, those that you go home to at the end of the day. Maybe you find yourself like I did, where you were running out of energy, running out of time, and it was time for a change. So I would say this: if you are a good coach, I want to add a little bit more to this last point of focus. A great coach is going to help you stay focused. One of the ways that you stay focused is by identifying those priorities, the handful of things, the top 5 things that need to happen on a daily or weekly business, or daily or weekly cadence in your business or life. So, for example, in real estate, I know that the top priorities: lead generation. Because guess what? If we don't have leads, it doesn't matter how great your product or service is. With no leads, you have no business. With no leads, you're out of business. So number 1, lead generation. Number 2, lead follow-up. What does that mean? It means that you're going to have to develop a list of people that raise their hand saying, Chris, help me. But right now is not the time for them. So we need a system in place in order to systematically follow up and stay in touch with those people, because the vast majority of people aren't ready right now, but give them a few weeks or a few months and they'll be ready. I went on an appointment last week with a gentleman who has a property about 20 minutes from where I live, and it's a commercial piece of property, just probably about a $750,000 piece of commercial property. And you know what? I was thinking about this on the way home from meeting him. I've been talking to him over a year at this point. What's my point? Is you're going to need a system in place to follow up with leads. Otherwise, they'll get lost. If you're in business, you're in the lead generation business. So the first priority is always going to be lead generation. Number 2 is going to be lead follow-up. Number 3 is going to be go on appointments. So there's only about 5 key priorities in a business. A great coach is going to help you identify what those priorities are. So a recap is: a great coach is going to help you have a different perspective to consider. Number 2 is going to help you have ideas. And more than just have ideas, you have to have ideas before results, right? Ideas can lead to results when you have someone do the next thing, which is hold you accountable to take action on those ideas so you can get results. And then number 3 is going to be focused. So maybe if you've listened, number 1, if you've listened to this far, thank you for tuning in. By the way, last time I looked, 98% of you who listened to my channel on a regular basis are not subscribed. So do me a favor and hit the subscribe button if this episode or any episode has ever added value to me. It's the one thing that you could do to help me. Number 2 is that if you find yourself in a position where now's the time to have a coach that you're looking to thrive, have a breakthrough, and go to the next level, click on the link below and click on the application and apply to see if we're a good fit to work together. We'll jump on a quick discovery call together. That's about 10 to 20 minutes, where I'll ask you a series of questions and it'll become clear whether or not we're a good fit for each other. So make sure to check that out. By the way, that link will be in the links below. I appreciate you tuning in. And I would ask you this: what is the one thing that if you took action on could change the trajectory of your year? What would it look like for you to finish strong by taking action on one thing? Maybe it's an idea that popped in your mind. It's not even anything I said. It's an idea that you had as a result of something I said. Maybe it's something that you're thinking about now as a result of something I said. What's the one thing that you could take action on within the next 24 hours that would actually be helpful? Appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you next time.